Welcome everyone to the EA Global Summit 2022. This is Vaibhavi from the EA Global Summit organizing team. Firstly, I would like to start by thanking all of you for joining us in this session. The session will be conducted by Daniel Siegel. Daniel looks into the business development at Liber Software, and he will be sharing his expertise on DevOps for models with us today. We will be muting all the participants thoroughly throughout the session. For any queries during and after the session, we request you to use the chat window to drop your questions to the speaker. We will be reading out some of the questions and the speaker will answer them during the question and answer session at the end. To enable collaboration, to enable collaboration and communication with Daniel and other EA practitioners directly after the session, we request you to visit the dedicated channel for this session in Microsoft Teams. Daniel and several other speakers have kindly accepted to stay in the channel to have a one-on-one discussion and answer your queries. The link to MS Teams channel is posted. If any queries on that, you can write to us at registrations@eaglobalsummit.com. Thank you once again for your interest and support to EA Global Summit 2022. We look forward to a wonderful session with Daniel. Over to you, Daniel. Thank you.
Hi, this is Daniel Siegel. I'm currently in Vienna, Austria, and today I'm going to talk about DevOps for EA models and how to manage your models with pipelines. The purpose of this typically is to enable true agile modeling with processes that are very well established in software engineering, but you can use the same principles for other types of modeling, most prominently systems engineering, but also BPMN or Archimate is possible with this way of thinking. So here's my first joke. It's on Agile. Software engineers did not invent the concept of stand-up meetings. If you drive through Austria at 7 a.m., you will see many stand-up meetings everywhere. As I said, we are based in Vienna, Austria. We have an office in Houston, Texas. Our main market is Germany, US, and Asia. And yeah, it's Liber. If you're in the EA market, I guess you heard from us at some point. Today, my focus is on agile collaboration of modeling. In the old days, we built a model like a clay model in this picture, and we could collaborate directly on the model. In today's world, people are distributed. They are in home offices. They work on topics all around the world. So it has become a little bit more difficult to sit around one screen and collaborate on a model. And this is exactly where I will show you our take, how this can work in an engineering context or also in other contexts. The problem is that the trunk of the model is not always feasible for all things you have to do, because sometimes you need to try a scenario. You want to do some refactoring. If you do it on the trunk, you might confuse a lot of people. Also, in many business domains, you need some form of agility to be able to meet the business goals. The straight V model simply doesn't cut it anymore in today's dynamic environments. Cross-company collaborations that you might have to host in GitHub and work on shared IP is a topic for our customers typically. And the complexity is increasing and increasing. And also we kind of need to monitor what the people are modeling in terms of quality to create a sustainable modeling practice. One truth, really. So this might be a bit different from other people talking to you today. Simply, I'm too stupid to manage all my modeling in one big model. Because typically I have scenarios, I have releases, I have people that want to review the state, I have other people that do production, and they need a current state of the model that reflects what we are running. So one big model gets very blurry very fast. In reality, I have zillions of models. And they are all like their own repositories, because I want to maintain this principle of digital twin, that my model reflects what I run or what I might run if I'm just planning a new iteration or a new scenario that we might ship later on. This becomes very cumbersome to manage. As you can imagine, that's just 10 or 12 maybe. I didn't count them, but it can be really a hassle to manage so many copies of basically the same. I know this very well from my spare time activities because my wife cannot tell what's the difference between those 5 models of historic Toyota pickup trucks. I can elaborate at least a day on it. So you can see the difference is very real. We have multiple models, they reflect multiple features, multiple state of the art, and so on, and we need to know what we shipped, what we will review, and so on. And obviously, the models we are building with Enterprise Architect are even more complex than a scale model of a Toyota. And this is an example of one of our customers' models. And interestingly, the red lines are just circular references, which means basically stuff they should not have in their architecture. This is a special visualization we did for them to get rid, to refactor their architecture, but I think it shows very well that these models are big, complex graphs. And on the other hand, we have people working those complex models. So it should be easy to create the release of a model. With the baseline scenarios, I have seen very often that people use phone calls to tell people, please stop modeling. We want to do a release of the model in the evening. Not very 2022 as far as I am concerned. Also, it shall be possible that you can view or even create something like a hotfix on an old version of the model. It shall be possible to evaluate alternative scenarios. And my most important point on this slide is if everybody works on the same model on this gray box that I showed before, it's very hard to bring new people aboard, because everything they do, any change they do, is automatically propagated to all users on the same repo. And I have seen more than one time that this creates a lot of unrest in the teams, and it's very hard for new people to get aboard. Another requirement I have, at least, is I don't want my stakeholders to see our live engineering stage, the trunk, as we call it in software development. And also, stakeholders should be able to consume and review the model via web browser. So I guess I will need a robot to solve this problem. And as you can see, KUKA is a famous brand for robots. Obviously, we're not using KUKA to sort our models, but we use more Git and version control to solve these challenges. And this is a fun quote to some extent, that the software engineering people use version control to manage complex data since 1972. And I will show you today how you can use the same stuff that your software teams will be using, like PowerShell, Jenkins, GitHub, Bitbucket, Artifactory, Nexus, and so on, also for your modeling practice. And again, don't be scared because you say you're not a software engineer. These things can be rather easy to learn and understand and give a lot of value down the road. So the process, the best practice process that typically my customers follow is they have a main line, which is this trunk. This is the model we released, the model that is shipped, the software that is shipped, the system that is shipped, the architecture that is shipped. And whenever we create a new release, we will have something like a develop branch, which is like our engineering branch where we're currently working on, where we do our modeling changes and so on. And whenever we add new capability or refactoring to the model, we create a feature branch, which is like a sandbox where we can modify the model until it's fine. Then we can have a peer review, merge it back into the engineering review, go into a bigger review, which is the yellow dots, and this can also involve Pro Cloud Server and Collaborate to do this bigger reviews. And once we're happy, we merge it into a new release, and this will be then after that our baseline for further work. Very common in software engineering, not so common unless you're a customer of Lieber in the modeling space. How does this all work together? It might sound confusing for some, but in reality, it's not such a big deal. Basically, on the client, I have a local model, an EAPX file or an EA16 SQLite QEAX file. I have a Git client, and I have Lemon Tree from Lieber to do diff and merge operations on the model on the client. Whenever I'm done and I do a commit, it's like creating a baseline in EA. It's pushed to a Git server. In my demos, it's GitHub, but it can also be Bitbucket, GitLab, or pure Git. Doesn't really matter. And then there is these clever things called build servers or agents that can run scripts whenever something occurs in the version control system. In this screenshot, it's TeamCity. Later down the road, we will see GitHub, but we also have plenty of customers using Jenkins. And so it really doesn't matter. It's just a server that can act on a trigger in the version control system and run some scripts. And whenever we have a space in the process, our scripts can also publish the models to Collaborate Pro Cloud Server environment, so the model is accessible to a wide audience in the organization. I'm all about sustainable modeling, and I think one of the key facts to make it happen is that you need to be able to bring as many people on board with the modeling as possible. Here is a simple workflow. How does it look like when I do stuff? So first I start the task, then I create a branch. This can be fully automatically. When I click, for example, in Jira, I will start working. You can automatically create a branch. Then you do your work in Enterprise Architect, the modeling. When you're done, you commit your changes. Then a peer review can happen, typically on platforms like GitHub, GitLab, Bitbucket, and so on. When you're done, you merge it back. And then we can finish the latest state of our development branch to Collaborate or Pro Cloud Server for that matter. So we are in the demo stage now. So my demo is a bit prepared, but it's all live. So what I have here is I have a task. Think of it as a Jira task or some other project management task. It's all on GitHub because this is a simple environment where I can show this in one go, but it's just a placeholder for one of these workflow tools. So we have some tasks. We need to import Polarion requirements. We need to modify use cases. We need to create some traceability, and we need to define which parts of the model we want to publish to Collaborate. Okay. Down here, you can already see I had a branch created, and I also have already a pull request created. The pull request is like our in German, you say Laufzettel. It's the current state of our project. The next thing I need to do is I will open up my Git client. In this case, it's Smart Git, but it can also be something else. And I will also open up the mod, and you can see we're already in this branch 146E summit tasks. If you do not like Git clients, there's also an option that we have a simplified Git client directly embedded in Enterprise Architect. Once EA is started, you will see this immediately. So for those that are a bit scared of versioning tools, we also have a simplified Git client where I can see all the branches and which branch I'm currently in and so on directly from EA. So let's get back to our work tasks. First, we shall import Polarion system requirements. This is another solution from Lieber. I have and we will create a new package for that. And we can right click on this package and say, okay, specialize Polarion connector. And now it will connect to my Polarion server. It will ask me which of my Polarion requirement libraries I want to import. In my case, it's the system requirements. I click on import, and we now get the data from Polarion into our model. And you can already see here, they have been created successfully. What I can do next is I can go to my use case diagram, and we will create some traceability with those requirements for the sake of doing something fun. And another one. And we will also rename it. And we will rename this one. And so we have done some changes to the model. Let's go back to our jobs. So we have modified use cases, we have created traceability. And what we can do now is we can already publish the changes to Git. In this case, I will show the publishing directly from here. So I can say commit and push, and it will guide me through the full process. I did everything requested, and the model is already on its way to GitHub, and things are gonna happen in the background that we will look into a short second later. So the push was successful. And what we will do next is the last point on our agenda. We define a component for publishing. This is some special handling we built for our lemon tree product, okay? So, and it's pretty simple. When we go to Collaborate, you will see that I only publish a certain set of requirements. Of stuff. So this is now the same model. It's a copy of the branch, and you can only see there's 1, 2, 3 new changes, platform and visibility demo. If we go here, you can see there is different packages here. How do I do that? What I can do is I can create a lemon tree component, and this lemon tree component that is stored in the EA model will then tell the automation, the DevOps environment running on the server, which parts of the model I want to publish on Collaborate. So in our case, let's say we want to publish the system requirements and this one, and that's about it. And we can create one package from these two elements all in one go. And we are done with the job. We just defined the package. All the information is stored in the model. And when I commit this model again, it will be stored in the model. So for now, I show you the second way how to commit changes using the Git client. We added the last bit we had to be missing. And this is just an information for the tools running on the server, which packages we want to expose on Collaborate going forward. So it's just like setting up what's going on. Back to GitHub, you can see our Arbeitszettel was enhanced. There was some checks running on the model. For example, there are no baselines in the model. User security is not enabled. Some checks that I defined that I want to run on my model. And also there are some project statistics that inform me about the growth of the model. For example, you can see we have 1 actor, we have 13 requirements, and you can see totally we have 9 packages, 32 elements. So it's a fairly small thing. But this gives you an idea of the things you can check and you can enhance this. You can check for syntactical correctness of the UML, for people maintaining the modeling styles you defined. This is just some pretty generic checks that we run automatically after every commit of the model. Okay, this one is very interesting. Review session files. So if I want to ask my colleague, for example, Peter Lieber, please check what we changed. Is this according to what you wanted? I can click on this review session file thing. And it will open up Lemon Tree, and we will immediately see what changed. We can see 2 use cases have been changed. A new package with the requirements that we imported from Polarion has been added to the model. So it's a very quick and fast way to see what other guys did, and a very good way to discuss with them if the changes make sense, if they are according to the rules, and so on. So very amazing capability that's happening, pre-prepared, and people that review do not have local branches or whatnot, or even don't need to know anything about Git. They can just look into these pull requests and open up and review the changes that gonna be required. So we refresh this one and we check. Yes, it ran the second time. It ran a second time because we did this adding of the component definition. Now we are finished with the job. If we maybe go quickly back to my slide deck, we are currently, mouse, so. We are currently here. We review and validated the model with these measurements. We looked at the changes in the model. The step we are doing now is this finish merge, okay? In my case, using GitHub as the platform, I simply click on this squash and merge button, and my branch, my shadow copy, my sandbox, where I did my task, will be closed automatically. So squash and merge, everything I did will be moved back to the main line. So we are back to the main line. Just to explain again, maybe here. So what we did 2 commits here in the gray area, and then we merged back to the dark gray one. And now in the background, the publish to ProCloud Collaborate is gonna happen. How does it work? My merge triggered some operations on GitHub. They are called actions here, and you can see there is this publish components task. Once this is finished, we will see the changes, the packages, the additional packages that we expose to Collaborate happen in the web viewer. I'm kind of impatient sometimes, and you can see it's a few step script, and it's finished already. And now if we hit refresh in Collaborate, you can see that our system requirements made it into Collaborate, and the package is not yet rendered because ProCloud Server still needs a bit to render it, but it's basically here, and you can already see that it worked out. Okay. When we are done with the slides, we will go back here, and I can show you hopefully that the diagram has been rendered in the meanwhile. Back to the slide deck. So what we did, we started a task based on some task tool, in my case GitHub. We created a branch, we modified the model, we did commit changes. We did this twice because in the second step we defined which parts of the model shall be published later on. Then we did a review. We looked in a visual way at the changes that have been done to the model. We looked at some measurements we did on the model, checking for the size of the model, checking for some properties of the model. This can be enhanced a lot with model validation rules and so on. Then we did the finish to bring back the development branch, feature branch into the main line, into the trunk, and then automatically the publish process ran, and the new packages that we've defined in the second commit were published to Collaborate. This is another example. This is now just a screenshot. This is not live, where you can see sometimes there's conflicts, which means two people worked on the same elements in the model, and you can also review those in the same way that I showed you before in the demo. And also another screenshot where I have a real model validation solution by inquiry. This is like inquiry server running against the model that will do a real graph-based, Viatra-based model validation. In this case, it's SysML. And obviously, I did something really stupid. I connected the ports of blocks, which is not allowed as per the SysML spec, and our ports don't have interfaces and so on. So this is another example of a really valuable feedback you can get on this build server. And all of these measurements tremendously help to increase the capability of your workforce. For example, if you look at the software engineering, nobody would build software anymore without unit testing, because all these measures help you to get more sustainable solutions in the market. And that's why we say it's DevOps, because we use these ideas, these principles to make better models and in a more agile manner. And not to underestimate what I stressed before, with this approach that we use build 100% models and not so-called 150% models, we are closer to this digital twin vision that many organizations have, that the model reflects the system to be built or the system that has been shipped and doesn't contain 17 different versions, variants, scenarios, whatever it is. And again, as I mentioned before, I'm all about sustainable modeling. If you want sustainable modeling, you need to build solutions, collaboration environments where you can have people experiment, play around, learn without destroying stuff. And the same applies also to the stakeholders. You only want to see them stuff you and your team reviewed and said, that's good, let's show it to the stakeholders. You don't want them to sneak around in your refactoring that's currently taking place, or in a crazy scenario you're trying to realize. Another big benefit of these solutions based on version control system is that you can also easily revert changes, which can be cumbersome. Sometimes if you have your repository in your SQL Server or MySQL or Oracle for that matter, and if a feature is discarded, postponed or whatnot, you simply keep it in its feature branch until you really know you don't need it anymore, and you do not have this started changes in the model just because you had this awesome idea. If you have awesome ideas, it's cool. It makes things better. But you do all of this in a feature branch. When you and your team feel ready that this is the way forward, you merge it back. But you do not, if you try something out, work on the live model and destroy stuff. And also what we learned from software engineering is that this culture of visible measuring improves the quality, and also people feel safer and trust the models more than they do if you do not show that you are interested in what they are building. Lemon Tree 3.3 is our commercial product that this solution is based on. I also showed a sneak preview of our Polarion connector. Lemon Tree 3.3 is a three-way different merge tool. This enables you this optimistic version control with branching for models. Then I showed you our reusable model components capability in a very simple way, just defining a package component that would be published on Collaborate. And I showed you Lemon Tree automation, but there's not much to see. It's a command line workhorse that runs on this Git server, GitHub, Jenkins, TeamCity built environments. And that's why we say we can enable true agile processes in your modeling domains. And Lemon Tree is kind of beyond compare for models and then some. This is some of our global customers. You can see in this picture at least, they are rather engineering organizations, people that build fancy cyber physical products. Many of them, we are in the autonomous driving and so on, or in the medical space. Jet Propulsion Laboratory is using a very special version of Lemon Tree. We have customers in defense like the Swiss Army or the German Army or General Electric Aviation. So you see a wide share with some automotive focus, but also some banks and insurances use the same principles. So don't panic if you're not building cyber physical systems. There might still be something in it for you in the approaches I demoed today. And that's it from me. I guess I was fast, but that's it. And if you have questions, feel free to ask.
Thank you, Daniel, and thank you everyone for your time. Well, Daniel, there is a question which is put up in Teams. Let me read that out to you. The question is from Peter Lieber. It is all right. He's talking about ModOps operation. He's asking, is it ModOps operation?
I don't know ModOps operations. Just for everybody that does not know, Peter Lieber is my boss.
Okay.
I will not answer this.
All right. If anybody has any questions, they can share it in the chat window here, or probably put it up in Teams later, and we can have Daniel answer that for you eventually. I'm sure the session was really informative and it gave deeper insights to everyone, Daniel. So thank you so much. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.